Turn the lights on.
Sure. Turning 7 lights on.
Hello, Isaac here. Now, 2020 has been quite a strange year, to say the least.
This is a vital update about coronavirus.
To help save lives, stay at home. Anyone can spread coronavirus. You should now only go out when absolutely necessary.
Stay home. Protect the NHS. Save lives.
But it has given me an opportunity to do some reading into the Greco-Roman classics. From Suetonius, to Tacitus, to Livy, to Cicero, to Pliny the Younger. But there is one figure that really stands out, and that is Gaius Julius Caesar. Now, what is interesting about Julius Caesar is that he's the first Roman to cross the Channel to the once mysterious land of Britain. Now, this happened during his conquest of Gaul, and he claims that his invasion of Britain in 55 and 54 BC was an act of self-defense. But of course, Caesar didn't embark on his military campaigns just as an act of self-defense. He wanted to achieve prestige and honor in Rome. Now, Plutarch tells us that when he was in Spain and reading an account of Alexander the Great, he burst into tears. His friends were surprised and asked him the reason of it. "Do you think," said he, "I have not just cause to weep when I consider that Alexander at my age had conquered so many nations, and I have all this time done nothing that is memorable?" For the Romans, the British Isles were steeped in mystery and rumours of gold and silver and other precious metals. But more than this, to conquer a land so distant, so barbaric, would win Caesar popularity in Rome and place himself in a position where he would become the most powerful man in Rome.
Okay, Adam, what do you know about Julius Caesar?
I think I learned a bit about him in year 7, but I don't recall quite a lot. I know he's a Roman chap.
Roman chap. Okay. Well, did you know that he invaded Britain?
No, I did not. I wasn't aware of that.
Okay. So he was the first Roman to cross the Channel.
Yeah.
The once mysterious land of Britain. Well, I was thinking we could follow Julius Caesar's journey north.
Oh, wow.
What do you think?
Yeah, all right. When do you want to do it? Do you want to go tomorrow?
Just go. Let's go right now, Adam.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. See you. See you soon. All right. Bye.
And so Julius Caesar first invaded Britain in 55 BC, but it wasn't so successful. In fact, because of the warning of the Gauls, the British tribes were ready. And when Julius Caesar crossed the Channel with his 80 ships and 2 legions, about 10,000 men, they were waiting on the cliff tops. And the Romans were too afraid to jump into the waters and engage with them. And eventually, the Roman tribes fled, and he managed to defeat them there on the coast. But a storm damaged the infantry transport ships, crashing them together and wrecking many of them. And so, once they got their ships repaired, they fled and made their escape back to Gaul. But despite his lack of success, this had increased his prestige in Rome. And it was 20 days of thanksgiving by the Senate. Therefore, Caesar returned the following year with a greatly improved invasion force, consisting of 628 ships, 2,000 cavalry, and 5 legions. That is 30,000 men. And the force was so large that this time they had an uncontested landing.
Hello, welcome to a very dark and cold morning. 6:30 a.m. But I'm gonna go meet Adam soon to get the train to where Julius Caesar possibly crossed the Thames with his army. Before then, got an egg sandwich to eat. We were originally thinking about cycling there, but it would take about 3 hours. Given that it's winter, that would most likely take most of the daylight up, so I decided to take the train. All right, I'm on the train with with Adam.
I don't have a bum bag today.
He doesn't have his bum bag. I've got my bum bag. Yeah, so we're going to see where Julius Caesar crossed the Thames.
Yeah.
And also, Adam may be making some Roman cuisine.
Yes. Looking forward to it. I think it's kind of a mixture of different recipes, but I think it's pretty authentic. I think it'll fill us up. It'll be nice to have something hot outside, I think.
Once they had established a base camp on the coast, Caesar's army marched north, meeting the British tribes at the Dengewood on the River Stour, when he managed to push them back. However, Caesar got word that there had been a storm and that the ships anchored at the coast had been damaged. He therefore had to return to the base camp, where they had to spend the next 10 days and nights repairing the ships. In the meantime, the British tribes had returned to River Stour and organised resistance under a leader known as Catuvellauni, who was leader of the Catuvellauni tribe. But he realised that he could not defeat the Roman army in pitched battle and therefore resorted to guerrilla tactics, using his knowledge of the territory and his chariots to attack the Roman army in their march north, slowing them down. This gave them time to fortify the only fordable point on the River Thames.
All right, we're here at Coal House Fort.
Yes.
Built in the 1860s as part of a series of defences along the Thames. But it is also where Julius Caesar possibly crossed over the Thames, which I shall show you in a bit. Before then, I have a map with me, and I've got a map of Roman Britain.
Roman Britain, it's massive. It's going to be pretty funny getting it out in the wind. What else have you got?
Also have a map of Londinium. Yeah, so I'm going to show you the path, the route that he took in his march north.
Now, Roger Noland identified 4 temporary camps on the Roman army's march north. All of these would have been a day's march apart, that is 16 to 20 miles. These are Dengewood on the edge of the River Stour, at Kelmsey near Sittingbourne, at East Tilbury just over the Thames, and at Loughton Camp in Epping Forest. Now we know 2 things about the Thames crossing from Julius Caesar. They could only be crossed at one point, and then with difficulty as the water went up to their necks. Now, if Julius Caesar crossed the Thames further downstream, closer to central London, the water levels would have been significantly lower, and he would not have gone up to the soldiers' necks. Therefore, it must have been further upstream. And further upstream, there was only one point that you could cross it, and that is East Tilbury. Now, in his own account, Julius Caesar tells us, He led his army to the River Thames in the territory of Catuvellauni. This can only be crossed at a single point, on foot, and then with difficulty. When he arrived, he observed the large army forces drawn up on the opposite bank, the source of which was protected by a covering of sharpened stakes. Fixed beneath the water, similar stakes were concealed by the river. On learning these facts from prisoners and deserters, Caesar sent the cavalry on ahead and ordered the legions to follow up at once. The soldiers moved with such speed and vigour, although they had only their heads above the water. The enemy could not withstand the assault of the legions and cavalry, abandoned the riverbanks and took to their heels. And so, Caesar's army waded through the River Thames, with the cavalry leading and the legions behind them, with the water going up to their neck. And despite the significant advantage that Catuvellauni's army had, they managed to push them back and they fled.
So, Julius Caesar makes his way across the River Thames. His soldiers are wading through the water. It's up to their necks, and then they fight the Catuvellauni's army. Catuvellauni's army flees, but they're on the border between the territory of Catuvellauni and the Trinobantes. And the Trinobantes send an envoy to Julius Caesar to surrender. And actually, there's a conflict between the Trinobantes and Catuvellauni.
Classic.
So, Catuvellauni actually already taken the territory of the Trinobantes and killed the king, the son of the king. So he proposes this to Caesar, that he's surrendering, and if they conquer the Catuvellauni's army, take the territory, then he should hand it over to him. Caesar agrees to this, and after this happens, 5 other tribes send envoys to Caesar surrendering.
5 completely different tribes?
Yeah.
Wow, so many tribes.
Yeah. So they all surrendered to Caesar, and then Julius Caesar continues north, heading towards the headquarters of Catuvellauni.
Nice.
Yeah. Alright. Sun is nearly setting, Adam.
Yeah, we're not going to get golden now, are we?
They disappeared behind the clouds.
But it does feel very atmospheric, quite grim.
Yeah, very grim. Can we make food in here? Ooh, this is nice. We could just do it out here or something, or got these bunkers. Have these bunkers.
You're outside?
Yeah, just sit down there. I think that's pretty shaded from everyone.
Let's just get outside. Because this does look good, but...
It is the park guy, isn't it? The guy came to talk to us and gave us a very friendly warning.
Yeah, he was really nice about it.
So, not sure we can do our cooking here. Our Roman cooking. Okay, we're wandering back into a field because of the security guy around the fort. Let's see if we can find somewhere.
lights out.
Yeah. It's getting dark. All right, Adam, you're going to make some food for us. Yes. What are you going to make?
So, I'll start with the least exciting stuff. I've got some pearl barley, which I pre-cooked yesterday. Got some white wine vinegar. Got some honey. A lot of their meals have honey in. Obviously, you've got to have a bit of wine. We're going to put a little bit in the meal. Got some spices in here and nuts, which I crushed down with a pestle and mortar. So, yeah, there's salt in here. There's coriander, some mint, a few other little spices. But normally you wouldn't put salt in it. You would normally ask for fish pickle, which I think all the meals I looked at in the book. This one, Isaac got me, Apicius, apologies if I'm saying that wrong, is supposedly the oldest cookbook in the West. Kind of the centerpiece is roast pork. So I roasted this really quickly in the oven with like honey, some dates, some rosemary, and lots of vinegar. So basically, I'm just going to be heating up all these ingredients. This feels quite surreal. Just surrounded by darkness.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah.
It's a fun little day out.
Yeah.
There you go, sir.
Wow. This looks so good. Oh.
Yeah?
That tastes really different.
Yeah.
That does taste really different. It's really good.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for buying me the oldest cookbook in the West.
And so, after Julius Caesar had crossed the Thames with his army, defeating the forces of the Catuvellauni tribe, and striking up a peace treaty with the Trinobants and 5 other British tribes, he continued north, heading towards the headquarters of Cassivellaunus, which is thought to be a modern-day Wheathampstead, known today as Devil's Dyke.
All right. Welcome to day 2.
Day 2.
Where are we at today, Adam?
Welwyn Garden City.
Welwyn Garden City. And this time we have our bikes. Yeah, do you know where we're going?
I know the direction. It's like kind of westbound.
Yeah. We're going to Wheathampstead.
Wheathampstead.
And there is a place called Devil's Dyke.
That's right.
Which is possibly the location of the final battle between the forces of Julius Caesar and the Catuvellauni tribe. Before then, let's get some breakfast.
Yeah. More importantly, breakfast.
More importantly, breakfast. Adam, what have you got?
A bag full of cheese and bread and huge breakfast bags.
Mushroom, hash brown, bacon, sausage. Oh, taking a mouthful just looking at it. Okay, we're at Devil's Dyke, which is the entrance of the Catuvellauni tribe. So there's actually a sign at the entrance which says this entrenchment is part of a British city built in the 1st century BC. It was probably here that Julius Caesar defeated the British king Cassivellaunus in 54 BC. Yeah, so we're going to wander in, have a look at the earthworks that are left from the headquarters, and I'll talk a bit more about what happened. We're in Devil's Dyke, wandering through this forest.
It's pretty, isn't it?
Yeah, let's wander in and see what we can see. So this is the embankment to the side of us. So the base would have been up there. It's very wet and muddy. We've got so much mud on us today, especially because I don't have a mud guard on my bike.
Yeah, your bum.
I've got a muddy bum.
It's a top of the spear.
I can't do it! I'm making my way up. Yes! Attack! All right. Okay, we're in Devil's Dyke.
Yeah.
So you can see these huge earthworks that they created as part of the base of the Catuvellauni tribe. And it's here that Caesar came with his army. He probably had maybe half of his army now because he'd left other legions at the encampments, previous encampments. But he was only fighting this one tribe because the other tribes had surrendered. So he didn't actually need his whole army. So we'll read an account of what happened, unless you want to read it, Adam.
Give it a go.
Caesar made his way there with the legions and found it a place with admirable natural and man-made defences. Nonetheless, he exerted himself to attack it on two sides. The enemy lingered a short while, but did not withstand the assault of our soldiers, and burst out from another part of the stronghold. Large numbers of cattle were found there, and many of the enemy were caught as they fled and put to death.
But whilst Caesar was attacking this fort, Catuvellauni actually sent messengers to the kings in Kent to counterattack their fort at the base, probably in Dover, hoping that this would kind of give some leeway for him. But the Roman fleet defeated the force that had come to attack them at Dover. And once Catuvellauni got word of what happened, he finally decided that it was time to surrender. Basically, Caesar accepted this surrender because he had to leave, because he had already heard that there was a possible uprising in Gaul, and because autumn was coming, he had to get back before the weather turned for the worst.
After establishing a peace treaty and an annual tribute from the inhabitants of the island, Julius Caesar had to leave Britain because of troubles in Gaul. But there wouldn't be any Roman presence on the island for another 100 years. Julius Caesar would go on to cross the Rubicon with his army into Rome itself and become embroiled in a civil war with the other ego of that period, Pompey the Great. Stability would only be restored with the reign of the first emperor Caesar Augustus in 27 BC. But he would not consider the invasion of Britain as worth the risk, and so it was left to the Emperor Claudius and his general Vespasian 100 years later to follow in the footsteps of Julius Caesar. As the Roman historian Tacitus tells us, the deified Claudius was responsible for carrying out the mighty task. Legions and auxiliary were shipped across, and Vespasian was given a role in the enterprise, the first step towards his future greatness. People were subdued, kings captured, and destiny pointed towards Vespasian.
All right, it's dark, and it's the end of our Roman adventure.
It is. I've really enjoyed it.
Yep, we've been on the journey, seen where Julius Caesar went, and then here's to our next adventure.
Yeah. All right.
In maybe Londinium. Yeah.
Part 2 of the UK takeover.
Part 2 of the UK takeover. All right.
Right.
Bye, everyone.